Some people claim that the atrocities we commit in our fiction are those inner desires which we cannot commit in our controlled civilization. So they are expressed instead through our art. I don't agree. I believe heaven and hell are one and the same. The soul belongs to heaven and the body to hell.
Welcome back to the Blasphemous Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Jake, and with me today is, of course, my trustworthy co-host, Addison. How are you doing today, Addison?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing good. But we also have the talented Chandler Balli, writer, director, friend of the podcast. You know, what else can I say?
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome, Chandler.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're excited to talk about Hunger, Steve McQueen's directorial debut. After that, we'll talk a little bit about Chandler's recent movie, Tapeface, and some just like general questions. So,
Jake's gonna interview you.
a little
He's
bit.
gonna
A little bit.
I'm excited.
A little bit.
I can't wait.
So, both me and Chandler haven't seen this movie going into this
Yeah.
podcast. Addison has. Addison, tell us about like your first time watching this movie.
First time I watched it had to have been like probably in 2018. So I guess that was a while ago. But I just had the criterion of it, and it was a blind buy, and I watched it because it was Michael Fassbender,
Yep.
and I was just about him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I kind of fell in love with it immediately. I've always loved it, and I just thought it was like one of those movies that I think is perfectly constructed. I love all the frames. I don't think there's one thing that could be taken out of it. No fat on it, and I think it just flows perfectly. It's kind of like my pace of a movie, kind of like how you watch The Shining, and it's kind of slow, but at the same time keeps you gripped at the same
Yeah.
time.
Dude, it's
I think
96
that's how it
minutes.
makes it. Yeah,
It's
but
96 minutes. That's
It does
insane.
feel long, but it's great. It's not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy.
I just love this.
Yeah. So you're very high on this. So yeah, I walked away completely. I love this movie. There's so many things about it that are just incredible. Directorial debut is insanity.
Yeah.
I immediately went after. I'm like, all right, let me look at directorial debut ranked lists, and like Hunger was on all of them. Chandler,
Understand.
Chandler, how did you feel walking out of this?
It was kind of the same way. I recently watched all of Steve McQueen's Small Axe movies,
Gotcha.
and I like them. I like Steve McQueen, but I think this is my favorite project of his. I think this is definitely the most different from the rest of the other projects I've seen from him. And yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, this is a debut. This is
It's
crazy. This
insane.
is insane for this to be your debut and just be such a like on a technical level be such a spectacle. And same thing like with the pacing and everything else, doing it in 90 minutes. Like it's just all around just extremely well done.
Yeah, it's so meticulous. Everything is intentional, and
And Fassbender.
it takes
Fassbender's
yeah,
Incredible. Yeah.
it takes directors a long time to refine their work and like basically perfect like a piece of theirs to where everything
Yeah.
matters the most, and just doing that off the fucking rip is insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is crazy.
most recently, I think of After Sun and just like the way that
Yeah.
it feels very much in the same conversation. I mean, I think they both are in terms of direct
Yeah.
reviews. But let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of it. Hunger is about Michael Fassbender and some other prisoners who are stuck in. They're prisoners in the Maze prison, which is held by the British government, and so it details the 1981 Irish hunger strike, where Irish Republican Army prisoners are fighting for their political freedom. And in retaliation of trying to get their political status back, They go under a no wash protest, um, and that includes a lot of different things. Um, then then comes the hunger strike, which you find out like they already did one and it wasn't successful.
Hmm.
Um, so Fassbender takes it on himself to head another one. Um, but yeah, so we start off the film being introduced to um, a prison guard who's working at this place. Um,
Hmm.
when very interesting tone setter because like it kind of starts off, just introducing, this person and the landscape and everything. And you get one of my favorite shots in the movie is him eating breakfast and like you see the crumbs like fall on his nap
Yeah.
his I was like, dude,
Yeah.
holy shit, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But then like you get like the first like hint of the tone when he's walking
Hmm.
out to his car and he doesn't know if it's gonna fucking blow up because as a political assassination, and his wife is
Yeah.
mocking him as he does it. And I was like, oh boy, that instant tone setter. I
Yeah.
loved that so much. On like I told Addison before you hopped on this call, Chandler, like I got 30 minutes into this movie and I was like, I need to stop it and look at who the cinematographer was. The
Yeah.
cinematography is
Yeah.
unfucking believable. The shot
Oh
of
yeah.
the prison guard like standing against the wall, and basically you can
Hmm.
only kind of see the snow like basically fall in front of him in his silhouette.
Yeah. Crazy.
um,
The one that really got me was the it's towards the end where they're cleaning up all the piss through the halls, and it's just that one long shot of the guy just
you
mopping it
feel
all up. I
every
was
second of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It
It's
has some of
great.
the cleanest dolly tracking shots too.
Yeah,
Like
it does.
it shouldn't work, and you can tell they're not handheld, but you can tell it looks like they're laying down the track as they're moving the camera because it starts out
Mhm.
on the ground and you can see the ground, but as it's moving, the ground is disappearing. So you know they're laying down something
Yeah.
under it. You're doing it in
Yeah,
such a smart way to where it's hidden.
yeah,
Um. So like we really don't like get introduced to Fassbender's character until like a large, I would say probably like a
yeah. It's
good
like
30
30 minutes
minutes. Yeah.
in. Yeah,
Basically you're following just like a newer prisoner and a prisoner that's already been there. And when he gets to his cell for the first time, basically, he's already going in expecting, all right, I'm doing the no wash protest. I'm not wearing prison clothes because that's all what we're doing. Um, and he walks into his room and it is literally covered in shit.
yeah.
Did
And
it?
how long does the movie go without dialogue also?
I'm not sure.
Like, isn't it like 10 minutes before you even hear
You're
a
probably
word?
right because I don't remember anything being said until, yeah.
When
Well,
I was
I
watching
mean,
this time, I was like, imagine how short the script is for this movie. There's like the 15-minute
yeah.
one take, and then after that, there's like minor
Mhm.
conversations. So what, it's
I
like
was
3 pages?
I read this thing with Steve McQueen talking about how when he originally had the idea for it, he had no dialogue. He wanted to be like a silent film.
Holy
Like it was
shit.
straight up like that was his idea for it. And then he just kind of the more he got into it, he was like, I probably can't do that. But that was his intention. I feel like you can really feel that in the back half. That the back half of that
Yes.
movie is just I'm on the edge of my seat the whole time. I'm like, oh my there's like no dialogue in that the last like 30, 40
And you're
minutes is
just
like almost
watching
nothing.
Fassbender
Yeah.
deteriorate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, this is crazy.
So I'll say, like, Addison, my first thought was like, so when you're seeing this room just caked in shit, right? Uh, we watched Hard to Be a God, and the stuff in
Yeah.
there like wasn't disgusting, even though it tried to be. Here, I was like immediately like, oh man, this is disgusting as fuck.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah,
not pleasant to like.
And then you see the food pile and the
Dude,
maggots, and
the
then you're
food
like,
yeah,
ooh,
pile, the fucking thing that they're making on the wall with like an amalgamation of whatever fluids and
yeah.
whatever it is.
Gross.
It is
that's
vile.
disturbing cinema.
Yeah, like
Yep.
truly. Um and like
In a good way, though.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. effective.
Like, it's one of those things that I always complain about with disturbing films, where I get infuriated when stuff is disturbing just for the sake of being disturbing. But then you have movies like Hunger, where everything that is disturbing actually is grounded in the
Yeah,
realm
Yeah,
of, and realistically, it should be there.
yeah.
And
yeah,
maybe even a Fulci movie, like you watch a Fulci movie, someone getting their eyes gouged out might seem like shock value. But even in Fulci's worlds, it's like, it makes sense why it's there.
Totally.
So it's one of those things where it's like it works so well for this movie,
Yeah.
just because the tone, like you said, and how
yeah.
disturbing it is. It just
Mhm.
fits.
And one of the actions, like, you kind of see like them first take directly against the prison guards and like the prison as a whole is like they make this contraption to pour their piss into the hall, every single one of them doing it, and you just realize, holy shit, the putting up with these prisoners is definitely taxing, but like we see that, like, Steve McQueen makes sure that we, throughout this entire process, we see how agonizing it is as a
Yeah,
life working in this prison.
Well, you see every like action and every counteraction. Like their first action is making sure that the prisoners don't have their own clothes,
Yep.
but then
Mhm.
they do the counteractions of making them clean up their urine and then
Yeah,
poop and everything. But then you see the other counteraction of where the first time they storm their cells and stuff is to make them shave.
Yep.
And
yeah.
it's like the most brutal way of trying to hold someone down and
Oh
shave them
yeah,
I
using those scissors and
yeah, I
everything.
was gonna
yeah.
say that the shaving scene of Fassbender's character and the cleaning of
Mhm.
him is like one of the hardest scenes I've had to watch about someone getting clean and like basically
I
being
know,
dressed
right?
up. I was like,
Yeah,
dude, this is difficult to watch.
yeah.
The scissors and everything going through his hair and he's bleeding all over the
I was
place.
about to say, you see the blood starts trickling down. Like, oh gosh, dude, this is nasty.
And they
Yeah. They're
force
like
him,
putting the scalp and everything
yeah,
too.
they force him
Yeah,
into the tub and scrub him down, and it's just like, dude, it's
yeah,
so painful to watch.
yeah.
Um, so like I said, I think, well, you kind of get like there's an establishing shot of the prison guard we first meet of him like holding his hands down in the sink. And then after that
Mhm.
scene, you see the same thing again. And it's like, okay, I
Yeah.
see it.
After they cut his hair and
Yeah,
everything.
very good
Mhm.
stuff. So then,
I love it when movies do that, when they bring it full circle.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now at this point, we've been introduced to Fassbender's character. And it's kind of all right. We're just going about how the story is going to naturally progress. Um, and you have one scene that I really loved. Well, so basically, like they get to see their families and everything,
Yeah.
and every single one of them is doing like a behind the scenes
Yeah.
secret.
Sneaking
Smugglers.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're all smugglers.
yeah,
Yeah.
which that was cool to see.
Yeah.
The one scene that I loved, um, I don't know necessarily like, I mean, I'm assuming he's just a British um, priest, but basically giving them this whole um, service, and none
I
of
think the
Yeah.
priest is Irish also.
what's up?
I think the priest is Irish also.
Oh, is he? I didn't know if
Yeah,
like he was or not. I assumed it was like a British priest.
I think he's Irish.
Okay, but none of the prisoners are paying attention this entire
Yeah.
time. They're
Yeah.
talking over them, and they're just going about their own business. Um,
Oh, you mean the first priest?
yeah, the
Oh
first
yeah,
priest. Yeah, the first.
he's definitely British.
Um, so yeah, the first priest. I mean,
Yeah,
I think he's British.
yeah, and they just use that as like their way to get the lowdown
Yeah.
on everything.
Um,
Yeah.
so you kind of get this. You get the next like set of events. The next set of measures taken against the prisoners. So you get this riot gear scene,
Mhm.
dude.
That's what I want to watch too.
Yeah.
I see the riot gear. I'm like, okay, what are they gonna do with this? and um, you can kind of tell like there's one prison guard that the scene focuses on, who shows up. He's younger, and like you can tell he's not prepared for this thing at all. Um,
Yeah.
Basically, they line up in the hallway. They have a station down at the end, and they force the prisoners out of their cells, beating them violently. As they walk through the people in riot gear, they're beating them, and they're all naked while they're doing this. And there's a station down at the end where this um, this guard is essentially gonna dig in the asshole of every single one of these prisoners and look for whatever thing they got snuck in.
Yeah.
And it's it's disgusting. It's hard to watch, and like the fact of it too, it's like he digs in the fucking prisoner's asshole and then he opens their mouth.
Yeah, and he grabs his face with
Yeah.
it. Yeah, he puts it in his mouth. Yeah.
Disgusting as
Yeah.
hell. And
Yeah.
it just goes on and on. And one of the best shots in the entire movie is the prison guard standing behind the door, and on the other side you see all of the shit still happening, and he's
Yeah.
just breaking down
Right.
crying.
Yep.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this was already 5 stars right there. I mean, I don't know. Then
The hit scene is the scene that makes it always blows my mind.
the hit scene.
Like
Yeah.
it's like my favorite scene in the whole movie, and I just every time I feel like every time I rewatch it, it's always the scene that grips me back in is when he goes to see that guy goes to see his
Dude,
mom.
Yeah.
I was
It happened.
completely shocked.
Yeah, me too. Like,
It's just such a good scene
Well,
because
Yeah.
I know that he was placed out there by an IRA
Yeah.
member because that's why he was like, "Why are you out here?"
yeah,
And then he walks over and gets popped. And the way the scene just
Yeah.
plays out in that one little quick, it looks like a Fincher
Oh.
insert. The quick
hell
insert of the
yeah.
hand, it all looks, it plays out so well. And every
Yeah.
time I'm just like,
I like the final shot in that sequence when everyone's running out. It's
Dude.
just his mom still sitting there and his dead body next to her. That's crazy. So good.
it's my favorite scene. I just love it, the way it plays out and everything.
Yeah.
There was like a little piece of dialogue earlier from a British official where saying like there's no such thing as political assassination and stuff like that. It's just a criminal assassination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's what they would like to
Yeah,
think.
that's what they would like to think. Yeah, so he's going to see his mom, and everything's going well. You can tell his mom's not there, and yeah, you just get the walk up, gun behind the head. Boom.
Yeah.
Everyone freaks out, and the mom is just sitting there with her son in her lap, and
Yeah.
she probably comprehended what happened, but like she's not able to respond in any way, and it's
Yeah.
shocking in the best way, in the most effective way possible.
It seems like he's in a vegetative state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to, at this point, we kind of get to, the 17-minute. I think, is it 17 minutes?
Yeah.
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
We get the
That's probably tied with the shooting scene. That's what I'm saying. These two scenes back to back is just
incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
I have something terrible happened when I was watching this scene. My Criterion Channel app crashed in the middle of the
Oh
movie.
no.
I was so pissed, dude. I was so.
That's why you need physical media, Jake.
Okay, yeah, but I'm gonna get it now. I was so locked in, and then the app just crashes. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Man.
Of course.
Yeah.
Angry email?
What's up?
Did you send an angry
No.
email?
They're doing great work over there. It's not.
They're doing their
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, we have so much to be thankful for Criterion for. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'll give a little backstory on this scene. Just doing up some reading. I don't know if you guys knew this. Fassbender and the other actor basically moved in together for like 2 weeks
Yeah.
and practiced this
Yeah.
scene like 12 to 15 times a day,
Nice.
It's
and
awesome.
incredible. Then they do it and they say it only took them 5 takes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what's 5 times 17? How much time is that?
Yeah.
I want to do the math on that. Hold
Yeah,
on.
I'm not good with math, so that's all you, big dog.
Yeah, that's 85 minutes that they sat there and
There you
did that.
go.
And
It was worth
Almost the whole movie.
it. Yeah.
so there's so many things about this scene. I like immediately what I love. So it's him talking to an Irish priest, um, basically telling him like, "Hey, we're gonna go on another hunger strike," um, and the first thing I noticed about this scene, other than it obviously just being in one position and it's gonna be a one take, is like how off the cuff every single set. It's so quick. It's not super
Yeah.
fast. It's not like incomprehensible,
Yeah.
but everything they play off of each other so quick, and there's like no gaps in hesitation. They're like it's just pure, unadulterated, masterful acting the entire time.
Yeah. It really is. I feel like once you practice a scene as many times as they did, like at certain points, what I've seen is like when you read into it too much, when you practice it too much, it can kind of start coming off as you're just reading the
Mhm.
script and you're just hitting those cues. But I mean, after all that, that entire scene still just feels so
Yeah,
genuine.
it
It feels
feels
like you
so
just watched
natural. Just
real
watch.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's crazy. I mean, it's masterful. I sat there and I was like, "Oh, this is the one." I didn't know. I knew that it was in there
Yeah.
somewhere. I didn't know where it was. And then about like 2 or 3 minutes in, I'm like, "This ain't cutting. What's going on?" And they just kept going. I was like, "Hell yeah, this is
It
great."
never gets boring either.
It
No,
doesn't. It doesn't.
no.
Like, I never check out during that conversation, which I
Even
think
when Steve McQueen decides to just hold it on Fassbender's face after doing the whole one take,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it's still just as compelling because
Mm-hmm.
one, you're watching Fassbender, obviously at the top of his game, but like the whole thought as the viewer of like the expressions the priest is making on the other side of this camera
Yeah.
is that's incredible directing, dude. I don't know what else to
Yeah.
say, man. Like that's just it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It really is.
Um Addison, do you have any notes on like kind of like, the themes and stuff of is the scene at all that you kind of want to touch upon?
notes
I don't know, just general shit about the scene.
on the
Yeah.
themes. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the guy said, well, Fassbender's character says he's a cross country runner, which I love only because I used to run
Yeah.
cross country, and so I know his mental endurance and stubbornness
It's
directly links
insane,
to him
dude.
being a runner.
Yep.
Like, he was always a runner. And so he's sitting there and he's fully committing to this act of
Yep.
martyrism that he considers, which he
Which
thinks will
which he
change
also
everything.
like, the
Yeah.
priest accuses him of like, you're one of the reasons you're doing this is to achieve that. And Fassbender says that it's not his goal. So,
Yeah. He wants them to give in before he actually
yes.
dies, but he thinks if he commits hard enough to the point that he might actually die, they will actually fold on it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, of course, they don't, and it takes like I think it said six
6
other
other
people
people,
that
yeah.
die also. But yeah, it's I don't know. I love the fact that the biggest thing that I love about this movie is because no matter what side anyone looks at the movie, they can all agree, I feel like collectively agree that both sides had issues and everyone should have dealt with it in a different manner. And no one really wins at the end of this scenario
Nope.
because it's aggressive and then retaliation and then aggressive and then retaliation and then no one ever meets in the middle. And so at the end of the day, everyone's just either dead or crying in the hallway while everyone's getting
Yeah,
beat in the other
and
room.
like on top of it
Like,
too, it's like, they had some of like at the end of it, they had some of their asks granted, but they didn't regain their political status still.
well, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
though, is even in those situations when they negotiated, they said they were going to get their clothes back, and then they didn't give them their clothes back. They gave them bullshit clothes that didn't matter,
yeah,
and then they gave them rooms that looked like dorms. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, they gave them what they wanted, but they didn't actually give them what they wanted. So they're still taking a piss on
yeah,
it.
for sure.
That's what I mean. It's like no two wrongs don't make a right, and at the end of the day, this whole movie is just multiple wrongs trying to make a right,
Hmm.
and that's what I feel like this conversation
Yeah,
is.
and him talking about his cross country experience, like he goes into the experience he had killing, um, like that was his actual. It wasn't just a tale, right? It was like him actually. Yeah, it was him actually.
He talking about him killing a small horse in the creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, I think it's real. I don't think he
No,
made
no,
that
no,
up.
no, no. I was trying to remember if it was just a tale or not. Um, no, it actually happened. So he tells the priest about this time where, um, in the creek, this small horse broke its leg, agonizing pain, of course. And everyone around him felt like they understood what needed to be done, but wasn't willing to do it. And he was the one who did do it, and he drowned the horse and basically got dragged through the forest for his actions. Um, and you kind of that's like kind of like pretty much the end of the conversation. The priest kind of accepts that, like, yeah, he's gonna go through the hunger strike. And um, I love the whole part about the cigarettes. Is like, you can leave them there. I'm sure you don't want me burning up the Bible instead. And he's like, yeah, you're right. um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, obvious highlight of the movie. Um, but after this is like you kind of get like a whole different beast too. Um,
Yeah.
you get the
That's when you watch his downfall,
yeah,
basically.
you get
Yeah.
you get the whole. So I like how they laid out basically what's going to happen to him to his family, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that was I loved that bit of. I love that scene. I think that's a really effective way of delivering
Yeah.
certain information.
That's really the
Talking about
sad.
what organs are going to fail first and
Yeah,
how his body's going to be affected. Yeah.
it feels like a Greek tragedy. Like that's kind of the
Mhm.
sadness of it. Like he's dooming himself, but it's for a reason that's not in the
Yeah,
wrong at all. But it's like at the same time, the way he's going about it, you know how it's going to
yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Um, so you follow Fassbender through these couple of weeks, um, and it's vile. It's difficult to watch. The ulcers that are growing on his body at
Yeah.
like near his like joints, and you get that scene where like the doctor's putting the ointment on each of these ulcers. It
Yeah.
is unbearable.
And how much weight did he lose for that part? He looked like Christian Bale in The
He
Machinist.
lost a lot of
Yeah.
weight, man.
Like
I
it
saw an
looked.
interview with him saying he was like, I did too much. I would never do that again for a
Yeah.
movie.
Um,
I don't blame him. It's
Yeah.
insane looking at
and
him.
it's like like reading what like he did, like he did a whole thing of prepping his body in preparation before the film too.
Yeah.
And so basically he put his body through this pretty much two fucking times.
Yeah, which
Like
is
what?
definitely not healthy.
No.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so he's starting to grow these ulcers. He's starting to lose a shit ton of weight, to the point where like he really can't do anything by himself anymore. Um, he's starting to lose his pigmentation in his skin, and they're taking care of him the best way that they can. And like you get the follow up to like how the prison guards are feeling in these situations and then you see how the doctors are
Yeah.
putting up with like taking care of Fassbender.
Well, you see the nice, empathetic doctors, and then you see the UDA shithead
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
But
just
like the
terrible.
one doctor basically who was in charge of, being there for a host of it, like as he's being checked on his way out, you can just like he doesn't really have a lot of facial expression, but you can tell just how taxing this is on him mentally and how awful
Yeah.
it is for him to see someone go through this. Um,
Which I know this is some Chandler Balli stuff right here towards the end, where it's when the camera is hovering over him left and right as he's narrating, and it keeps overlaying those shots of the
Uh-huh.
tree
yeah,
birds
you
flying off.
Dude, I was about to say that's like my favorite part of the movie.
so
I knew that. I knew that would be some Chandler shit right
so
there.
just off of
Love
that
it.
alone, Chandler talk about
Hmm.
that shit. Talk
I mean,
about
it's just
it.
I thought that was great. For some reason, like, I guess because it hits so much as he's deteriorating right there at the end, it just kind of sent shivers up my spine. Like, this is just kind of haunting. Like, he knows what's happening. Everyone around him knows what's happening, but just something about that, like that shot of all the birds specifically. I think it's the last one they show of all those birds leaving that tree flying away. I was just like that. That feels like, I imagine that's what he's thinking of in that moment. That's what he's kind of imagining in that moment, because obviously if he focuses too much on what he's doing right now, I mean, that's what he is. He's probably losing his mind on top of everything else, on top of his body deteriorating. So just those kind of being like his last thoughts or the last visions that he has is just like that's kind of like life, like leaving, like going away. And yeah, just an extremely haunting shot. And I visually, just what that whole sequence is as we're following him, and again, like there being almost no dialogue in that last half of the movie. Yeah, that's really what did it for me. I liked the first half of the movie. I was into it. It was really cool. I thought it was very effective the way that Steve McQueen was telling that. Once we hit the conversation with the priest, the 17-minute shot, and then everything after, that's the first time out of anything that I've seen from Steve McQueen where I was like, okay, now he's making something that's up my alley. Like this
Nice.
is my kind of deal now. Like this is what I was looking for. So
Chandler said he's cooking.
yeah, and it's just on another level. It's just unreal what he's doing in that last half, especially. Like, yeah, just incredible.
Seeing his younger self too.
Well, like so,
Yeah,
like not only is that metaphorical, it's like you can tell he's kind of hallucinating shit too.
yeah,
It
yeah.
works on both levels. You kind of
Hmm.
like it works at the same time. You can kind of take your own interpretation, lean one way or the other, but it works both
Yeah,
simultaneously. And kind of going off of what you were saying, Chandler, another really awesome aspect about this scene is what they do for sound throughout
yeah,
it, because like there's points where you hear wings flapping, then it just like
hmm
goes silent.
You
yeah.
hear the branches crunching and
Hmm.
rustling,
Yeah. Um,
and his poor parents get moved into the prison so they can be with him as he dies.
Yeah,
And that's one of my favorite shots too in the whole movie. That final shot of Fassbender as he's dying is where it's that close up side profile of his face, and you see the one tear coming down, and in the background you see his mom blurred out.
yeah, yeah,
That is a crazy good shot, and it's also super haunting and sad.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
I knew that whole back half was going to be Chandler core,
yeah.
especially
It's
since he's
rough.
been on a lynch run lately.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was rough. Haunting is kind of the perfect word for it. It just feels. I mean, it feels nasty. Like I think what that movie captures so well that I haven't seen from another film is just that state of decay, like the starving. Like you feel what he's feeling in that last half because you stay with him for so long. You don't really get any dialogue, and you can only imagine just how terrible that is. And we just got to sit there and watch him, and it's yeah. I think he really He really got his point across. And again, it's amazing that he was able to tell that story in 90 minutes and make it feel like so grueling, not in a bad way, like pace wise, but just it feels like you're being tortured in that last
Yeah,
act in a good way.
and it also kind of it's nihilistic in the way where you want Fassbender to make it out of this, but like you kind of know he's not going to. Like
Yeah,
he's gonna be the victim of this strike and possibly others. Um, so it works well on that level, effective on that level. And sometimes like post like credit exposition shit can feel just cliche tacked on, but just hearing like another 6 people had to go through this same exact thing
Yeah.
is as effective because you saw that entire grueling experience and just like, all right, think about that 6 more times, so like 12 more weeks, so like give or take, like
Yeah.
what
Terrible.
That's what makes it so, like, the dichotomy of it. So I guess even more staggering to me is the fact of you feel for him, the fact that he's going through this, like you said, the nihilism aspect, like you know where he's gonna go. But then you also think about the fact of like, if he didn't go through it though, would those other 6 people have gone through it, and would they have got what they wanted in the end? So it's kind of optimistic, but at the same time, it's optimistic in the most depressing way.
Yeah.
Like it's such a double-edged sword, and it's so rare that you see movies that can pull off stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so overall, this movie's incredible. One of the best directorial debuts of all time. Incredible cinematography. The acting is off the charts. At least right now, from what I've seen of McQueen, it's definitely my number one for me.
Yeah.
Addison, obviously, you love this movie, but has anything stand out or change for you on the second watch?
No, I just appreciated it even more this time around. Like I've always loved this movie, and I guess since I've started making movies, I actually appreciated it even more because from the technical aspects of it, I was like everything he's doing is impressive.
Yeah.
And it's crazy
Yeah.
that it was his first movie.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I would feel lucky if that was my first movie. I feel like most people would feel really lucky to
Oh
have.
yeah.
Clearly, he's a talent. I mean, I like Steve McQueen as a director, even with his other stuff. But yeah, I just love this movie, and I'm glad you guys
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah. That's great.
So, Chandler, you've kind of already expressed you like that, you were happy with the result. You walked away. Yeah, I appreciate that experience.
Yeah. Very affected. Yes.
Compared, like, kind of like going off of what you had said about Steve McQueen's other work, um, is it top for you from what you've seen?
I think so. I think so. I'm just I've never been the biggest Steve McQueen fan, but he's always really piqued my interest. I still like every time I see one of his movies on something, I'm like, all right, let me check that out. And I think this is the one that's moved me the most so far.
What other?
Yeah, it's really effective.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Have you? What other of like? I know you said that you watched the what was it the
Yeah, Small
yeah,
Axe.
Small Axe.
Yeah, I watched all the Small Axe movies, and I think there's 4 or 5 of those. And I've seen Shame and Widows.
What are your opinions on Shame?
I remember really liking it, but that's also like, when you first start getting into movies, that's one that's on all the lists.
Yeah.
And so I watched that probably when I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So that's one I need to go back to because that's most people's favorite from him. And I remember liking it fine at the time, but obviously the themes and everything just didn't. It just kind of went over my head as like a 16-year-old. So
Yeah.
I need to check that out again now. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of his stuff is just it's rooted in things that don't necessarily speak to me a lot of the time. Like he's telling incredible stories, and I do think on a technical aspect they are extremely well directed. But it's just never my favorite kind of thing. Like it's just never up my
Yeah.
alley. And this one is this like I said, the back half of this one is extremely effective, and it's I feel like a lot of that the confidence he has in like doing a 17-minute long take and having them do that scene, a lot of that comes from it probably being his directorial debut and like building up to that for so long. I actually watched an interview with him where he was talking about the reason that he felt like he needed to tell this story, because before that he had made like documentaries and stuff. Like he'd shot footage in Afghanistan, and he said that he always had this story in mind because as a kid he heard about it happening, and he just couldn't wrap his head around not eating being a form of protest and how much that disturbed him. And I think you can just tell in the movie he lets you just sit there with it. And yeah, I think this is the one. I think this is my favorite from him. He crushed it.
Yeah. Incredible pick, Addison.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
I love showing people cinema.
I definitely need to watch Shame. I've seen 12 Years a Slave. I love Widows. I haven't seen it in a minute, but I really love that movie.
Shame is a good companion piece to Hunger.
Yeah, I mean, it's like directed by the same. I mean, it's Steve McQueen and it's Fassbender still, so it's like,
Yeah.
and they're both.
It's kind of like a two-hander.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that will be on my list to tackle at some point. Steve McQueen's always going to be someone when he comes out with a new movie I will be interested. So,
Yep.
yeah, phenomenal pick, Addison. We're gonna move on to some more current day stuff from a certain guest of ours. Chandler, you most recently directed a little film called Tapeface. So,
Yeah.
walk me through kind of how this began, and when it began, and kind of what Tapeface is all about.
Okay, so the story's a little can get a little confusing.
Okay.
It's kind of strange. Okay, so what it was is that me and Travis Lee Prine, my co-writer, we do write all of my projects together most of the time, or at least talk about them. And he loves playing killers, serial killers, slashers, and so I had the idea of doing this movie called Method. Now, we shot Method back in October of last year, and the movie's about this director and his lead slasher character called Tapeface. They're on set filming Tapeface 3, and on set of Tapeface 3, we find out that the director and the lead actor have been killing their victims for real on set. That's the whole plot of the movie, and it's really ridiculous, and it's really funny, and just this extreme, like, just ridiculous humor. It's not really something I've done in a feature film before. It kind of feels like one of my shorts or something. And so yeah, we made that, and in that world, we're on set of Tapeface 3. So I get the money for it, I get the budget, I book the dates and everything for us to go film that, and then I guess it was August, September. While we're waiting to film that, I had a VHS camera, and I told Travis, I was like, hey, let's just get some footage of you as Tapeface just so we can get a feel for the character. And so that literally the whole first, the late night snack portion of Tapeface, the first like 10-15 minutes, we filmed that all in maybe 2 hours. And there was no script, there was no setup, we had nothing in mind. We just went for it. And then once we shot that, I sent it to Addie, and I was like, hey, can we come down to your house and film another kill? He was like, yeah, sure. So we went down there and filmed another kill, and then we came back to my house and we filmed the third kill with Keith. And then I just put it all together, put it on the back burner. We went and shot Method. No one saw it or anything. I'm editing method, and I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm going to release Tapeface as a movie. Tapeface goes online, and I'm like, hey, ask me for if you want a screen or DM me. And then next thing I know, I have thousands of DMs, and people on TikTok are reviewing it, and it's kind of blown up into a different thing now.
But so
And method still isn't out. So I
yeah,
got people asking me, Derek Ryan is, he's listed as the director of Tapeface.
yep.
Yeah,
But like,
this just got out of hand.
yes, but in that way, it's working, right? Like, because
Right?
it's working in
Yeah.
such an awesome way where like you don't even have method out yet, and now you got this buzz
Mm-hmm.
around Tapeface, and you got people excited to
Yeah.
see how this is gonna come full circle. So
Yeah.
that's incredible to hear. Yeah, so I watched Tapeface. Can't remember what day it was, but recently, and
Mm-hmm.
there was definitely some things I wanted to talk about with it. I thought the
Okay.
editing was great.
Thank
Yep.
you.
I think you did a phenomenal job at selling the unsettling tone. One of my favorite things that you did with this is the infrared shots.
Okay.
Dude,
Yeah.
the transition of those and like during the kills definitely makes those scenes more unsettling. Um, when Tapeface was, I loved him during the first kill, and he's like just sitting in the room waiting for his
Yeah.
victim to come in. Loved that.
Uh-huh.
Also, I mean, I'll just say it, like Travis, he pretty much does like an
Yeah.
incredible job at like kind of whatever he's like given.
Oh
If
yeah.
you want to talk about Travis, maybe a little bit.
His best performance is Tapeface for
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
I think it's his best performance. He killed it, and like I said, he loves to play those types of characters. But, if we look back on my other movies, in Sect, we have him as the butcher.
Yeah.
In Death After Dusk, he plays the Buck Creek Killer. And so when we're gearing up to shoot Method, I literally once we decided on everything, I just told him, I was like, Travis, we can't, no more masked killers. Like we have 3, and then we're done. We can't really put a mystery
Yeah.
behind it because everyone knows it's you. I was like, 3 and we're done. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll spread my wings, try to be a different, act in different projects and stuff as different characters. And then of course we do Tapeface, and I'm like, are you kidding me, man? This is your best performance. Like, you just did, like, this is everything that I could have hoped it was. And I asked him afterwards, because that scene where he's talking to the therapist, I'm like, Travis, you don't talk like that in real life. What made you decide to use that accent? And he was like, I didn't know I was doing one. I was like, well, you are, and it's amazing, dude. I didn't tell him to sound like that. So it's just he did it. He's amazing in there.
That's like that. The fact that he doesn't, it really just speaks to his talent as an actor.
Just got it.
Like
Yeah.
He's got the
him
actor,
not
baby.
talking like that way, in real life, then like him just doing that without you even telling him,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
works. It's like,
Yeah, I think he just kind of slipped into it. I think that how we had set up the scene, I guess it just felt right to him. Because after he did the take, I told him, I was like, that sounds great. Let's just keep going. But it's just the way he presented it. Yeah, it was incredible. And I was like, yeah, this is great,
Yeah.
Travis. This is exactly what this needed. Yeah, I was very, very happy with how his performance turned out in there. And then now I'm still editing Method, trying to figure out that one and get the tone right on that one. And I'm worried that people who like Tapeface aren't going to like Method as much. So we're working on another Tapeface related project.
oh man,
just because I'm like, I wanted to do, like, if I knew it was going to turn into what it was, I would have done a little bit more with that character. And there's so many things that I could put into that character and have him be worried about or be the cause of and stuff like that. Because the way we kind of talked about it was like, you take a character like Jason or Michael or somebody like that, and they don't talk. Like we don't know that other side. We do kind of infer a lot of it, but we just don't know that other side. And I'm like, imagine if it was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type situation. And so that's really what we're trying to go into further with this character. But I guess one of the other things is like people have talked about how disturbing they think the movie is and how nasty it is, and kind of how. So the bodies, I guess you notice, are always taped up when they die. About 2 years ago, we were going to make this movie called The Orphan Eater, and while we're making that, yeah,
Okay, you told me about the Orphan Eater.
yeah, so we're going to make this movie called The Orphan Eater, and to do that, we were going to make a costume for this creature. So we needed a body double to put prosthetics on and stuff. So I just made one off of Travis. He just stood in the living room, and I duct taped his entire body, and then I cut all of his clothes off of him.
Yeah.
That was the body. We stuffed it full of newspaper. We got a mold of his head. I did the exact same thing, and then that guy has just sat and he sat on our back porch for 2 years, and we didn't do anything with him. So what we did for Tapeface is I cut him open, and we took bags of fake blood, and I wrapped those in tape, and then I just taped those inside the body, and I just was like, all right, you have a couple of different places you can cut him at. So the first one where he saws the dude's head off, and again, we're filming this on a VHS, so we have the DV tapes, so I have to put them in my VHS player and record them all onto this other drive that I have attached. And as we get to that scene, like we're watching this dude's head get cut off, and I just kind of like slowly turn and look at Travis, and Travis is like bug-eyed, and I was like, this looks so much nastier than we had realized because it's the low quality and it like you actually have it flowing out and stuff. So I'm like, okay, we're just gonna do that. Yeah, so it's very. I mean, we literally made it for $0, and I think that's also it's really cool that people have connected with it as much and thought it was as scary as they did because it literally cost $0. I made a movie for $10,000 last year. And more people are talking about the one that's made for $0. So, oh well.
You know, that's just kind of how how sometimes like just film careers just go.
Yep.
It's always the one you don't think about that's gonna blow. Or at least a sequel way.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of disturbing horror out there that was in kind of the same vein where it's like we're doing super low quality like VHS like standard things, and that's that's some of the that ranks as some people's scariest shit. So some other things, the shot of Tapeface's silhouette as he's standing in front of the TV. Gas.
So glad you're the first one who's mentioned that shot.
I sit there, I'm like, dude, incredible. The infrared shot of him waving the knife in front of the victim's face. Incredible. I loved the psychiatrist telling him to make new friends, and then the next segment is new friends, and for some reason, that was like one of the most effective like things in the movie for me. I was like, that just hit so right. Then
I love the abstract editing Chandler does too. That's where Travis goes outside my house, and then all of a sudden it's cuts to inside the warehouse, and he's up in front of the camera, and the light turns on, and then it cuts again. I love the shit like that in this movie. I don't know if I told you that when you sent me the rough cut, but it's like I just love those edits where it's just like Tapeface is literally just like he's like fracturing a movie together for himself, and he does not care what's in there. He's leaving the stuff in.
Well, I mean, you described it like that when I first sent it to you. You're like, it feels like Tapeface himself has just put this thing together, and so it is just kind of, it's a little, rough around the edges, and that's kind of what's going on. It's a little nightmare.
I love the vibe.
Thank you.
The kid
Chandler's my director.
He's great, man. He's great.
You're mine.
The kill on Addison, unreal.
Yeah. Like, cutting his head off.
And it's like, this is at, I've been to Addison's place, so it's just funny seeing
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these things like play out at Addison's house.
Uh-huh.
It was just super funny.
You know what's really funny is that when my body is getting torn to shreds right there on the other side of the camera, me and Hannah are watching Travis do this to me, and we're just laughing
Awesome.
the whole time.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, like, also,
And
go ahead, Jaden.
I was just gonna say that whole shoot was just again because it was kind of like last minute. It was like, hey, can we come down this weekend and film something? We're just gonna kill you real quick. We got down there and we did that. We had to cut his head off, and then that's kind of where the infrared stuff started, was because I went to edit that shot and I was like, I want this to look a little bit nastier.
Yeah.
And a couple months prior, I'd rewatched Robert Rodriguez's Sin City, and just the way that he's able to make that entire movie work, like doing that graphic novel style, but also just, it doesn't have to connect exactly because of the colors is black and white. And I was like, I don't exactly want to do black and white, but I downloaded this plugin and started looking at the infrared shots and everything. And so I was like, okay, that's what it is. That's like his kill cam. When he does that, we cut. And that's the kill that's gotten like the biggest reaction out of people, is ripping Addie's head off and the blood squirts out. And
Yeah.
so fun time.
I mean,
He pulls a hand.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I always, Addison, like your backyard with like basically the, what are they, the vines and
Yeah.
everything?
Oh, the
Perfect,
grapevines?
perfect setting for something like this. Perfect setting.
It's very cinematic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time I go out there, I'm like, I just stand there for a little bit. I'm like, man, what could we film out here?
Yeah, dude.
This looks so.
Dude, there's photos on my camera roll of those grapevines in his backyard where I look at all the time. Like, dude, this shit is just hits. Man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's great. Dude, the 911 call. This shit was
Everyone
so
loved
fucking intense. It was so
I'm
tense.
so glad.
Unsettling, difficult to hear. And I love how it's like not super short. Like you get the whole thing.
Yeah,
and
I think it's about like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it kind of operates as its own kill, and nobody dies in it.
No.
You just get to hear the horror of that. That's what I wanted to do. That was going to be kind of different. Is just that last line that she tells, and she's like, they say they can't find him. Like after all that, you thought there was going to be some conclusion to it, and then there's just not. Like he's still out there. Yeah. So that was actually, I didn't exactly know how I wanted to approach that with two actresses, and I didn't really know which two actresses I wanted to even attach to that. So what I did for that is very interesting. Is I just went to Fiverr, where you can hire people to do narrations.
Oh, okay.
And I went to the cheapest option, and I found two different women on there that were $5 for a 2-minute conversation, or it's like, I guess 4 minutes, whatever my thing was. And so I paid them their $5 and sent them the script, and I was like, is this okay or is this too intense? And both of them didn't even reply back to me. They just sent me the audio file like 24 hours later. And so they weren't even interacting with anyone in their conversation at all. And I just stacked them and laid those two together. And
that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds so good too.
Like, it does.
Realistic.
Yeah, I went and sent them thank yous after. I was like, thank you so much. This sounds incredible. I really appreciate it. But yeah.
That's awesome. And I, kind of going off of the 911 call, you kind of, intersplice some of like the American iconography, like news footage, like type stuff. And super effective. Love that.
Oh, I'm glad. I actually had some people. That's like some people that's the thing that does it. Like I had this one guy who he had commented on the movie, or he made a review, and he was like, I hated this thing the entire time until that final shot where Tapeface turns into the Statue of Liberty, and then I realized this was about America. Well, that's what you got from it, and that's, if that's what did it for you. And he was like, I loved it. After I realized that, I loved it. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. That is not what I had in mind. I mean, he is just kind of this this hatred, this unstoppable force. But it's I kind of wanted it to, like, originally when I was tying that all together, it's just like, back in the old days when TV was done and they would play the national anthem and that was it. I just kind of wanted to tie it into that. Like, this is the end of our movie. Like,
Yeah.
you've watched this, like, 40-minute, hour long, program, and he's taped over this thing. And that's kind of the ending of it. And then I was like, sure, you can wrap it into that, because then the election happened, and then people put what they wanted to put on that, and I'm just, go ahead, that's fine. He is hatred. If that's what you want to take from that, then you can take it from that. I'm very glad that that affected people that way, but it's hilarious to hate the rest of the movie, and then that's what did it for you.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. But it's like, I sit there and I see that, and I got both. I felt like I got both from it, where it was like, I see this is very much as like, oh yeah, this is just the cutting of the program, like in the older days, and like, yeah, we're playing the national anthem, like we're going back to our regular scheduled programming, no matter what was before it.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, like, I also, like, I think, like, it does sell what that guy is talking about, and just like,
yeah. Once he said that, it kind of, like, I was like, okay, yeah, you could look at it like that. I mean, the threads are there from what I originally, like, what it was originally about. The threads are definitely there. He put that all, just encapsulated it all on there. And again, this is after the election. It was whenever the movie actually, I think it came out right before, but this guy had watched it right after the election, and he loved it because of that. I was like, okay, you want to say Trump is Tapeface? Go for it, man. I don't care.
That's crazy.
That's up to you.
So yeah, I think I'm happy to say that, Chandler, you haven't made anything that I've disliked. It's like I've
I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I've One Left, Sect, Death After Dusk, Tapeface. I like them all, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've done some great shit. Now I'm gonna, get into some regular questions.
Okay.
So, as a writer and director, do you feel pretty open about exploring a vast range of genres, or do you kind of just want to stay in a certain realm of things?
Yeah, I actually was having this conversation earlier today with my girlfriend. I was saying that we were listing off our favorite directors, and I was like, I like everybody, all the other ones that I just listed. I listed like Danny Boyle and Zack Snyder and Scorsese and people like that. But I was like, I really think the one that interests me the most, the one that I would say inspires me the most, is Soderbergh, because I love that he just does literally whatever. It was whatever calls to him, and that's exactly how I feel. Addie told me that in a phone call one time, and it made the rest of my week. He's like, everything you've sent me so far, I think it was after he read the script for Method. It's like, everything you've written so far is just so different from the last thing. And I was like, that just made me so happy. I'm so glad. That's the goal. I want everything to be vastly different. There's obviously like genres and stuff that call me back.
Yeah,
I do, like, it's so much fun to make that, and I'm gonna do, like, I'll do a sequel here and there, or something that takes place in that, that same kind of genre. But I really want to kind of explore every one. Not saying that one day I'll make a musical, but it's not impossible. Yeah. Like, after watching Joker 2,
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Possible. I don't know. So yeah, I want to explore them all one day. Just get into each one, combine them, turn them around, do different things. I mean, that was part of like Death After Dusk, because I was like, I kind of want to combine Western and horror. That's not something that's done too often. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's it.
Yeah.
That he made a horror comedy.
Oh yeah.
It's a horror comedy. Yeah.
So at this point, how do you view your own personal growth as a writer and director?
Well, I really just, I guess it's just becoming easier to get out what the core point of what I'm talking about is. I really, like, from Sam Raimi, and I mean, he's really kind of the biggest one, the broadest one you could take from is just like wearing your heart on your sleeve, whether it be cheesy or, you know, come off as overly sympathetic or however it may seem. It doesn't really matter. Like, I just feel like I need to express myself in every project I do. It needs to be about something that's just means something to me, that's important to me. Death After Dusk, I love Death After Dusk. I think that's probably the best feature that I've directed. But that's the one where I connect the least with what it has to say, just because I couldn't find an angle on that was extremely deep and personal. I mean, obviously, it's just kind of like revenge, like that's what it's about. Which I'm still very happy with that movie, and I like that script. But I think directorial, that was my best, and writing, that's probably my least favorite. But it's not in a way where I think the characters are bad or anything like that. It's just what it's about. And so I don't know. I think I'm trying to really experiment and figure that out. There's just It's just however I'm feeling at that point in my life. Like, in a way, Tapeface, this next Tapeface project we're doing is like kind of the most personal thing that I've written. But at the same time, I've told that to Addy in the last like 3 scripts I've sent him. Like, it happens. I have 2 different movies that are just sitting there unmade, and they'll just require a significant budget. But yeah, I just try to I want to connect it more to things that really deeply matter to me. And I think it hasn't been a straight path of growth. I think I've kind of gone up, down, a little bit higher, maybe plateaued there. And we'll see what happens next, because it's just a huge factor of things. But I think I see the vision now. I think I see what I need to do, and hopefully we are on a straight path now. No more all over the place.
Part 2 about Chandler is every time he sends me a script, they get wilder each
Yeah.
time. They do also get much more personal, and it's so funny to read them because I'm just like, I'll sit there and read it, and I'll tell him what I think is great, and most of the time it's everything. I very rarely have to give him any notes, if ever. But most of the time, I'm usually telling him, like, it's gonna be a pain in the ass to film this scene.
Yeah.
Or like before Death After Dusk, right before we went out to Texas, I was like, you realize we're shooting 144 pages in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. And I just kind of sat there. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Never heard of anyone else doing that since. Actually, the closest that I've seen, the closest I've heard so far is Leprechaun 3.
Oh, man.
They shot Leprechaun 3 in 14 days. I was like, let me go talk to the director of that one. That's the closest that I have. But still, there's no way that script's 144 pages.
No.
It was very insane. That was an insane thing to do. I won't try to do that next time. But also, that's why the movie was able to be made for $10,000, which sounds like a lot to a normal person. But if you make movies, or you know how those budgets kind of work, I know people that get $10,000 to do a 5-minute short film, and we did a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. So it's just, it's wild. I try to always grow. Try to always make something like, my goal right now is to see how cinematic I can make a movie for how cheap, because that just, so far, it's just opened the door for more people to be like, hey, I'll give you money for the next project. So I'm just try to raise the bar.
I mean, so like, from my perspective, I feel like, obviously, you know this better than anyone. You understand how you view your own progress. But, I mean, kind of just as an outside viewer, I feel like I just kind of see the progress as an exponential growth. So,
well, thank you.
That's just, I feel like everything's been has felt like a natural progression. From One Left to Sect, from Sect to Death After Dusk, and then not necessarily like, you didn't necessarily like go like, Death After Dusk was a very ambitious project.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say you definitely dial it back more minimal with Tapeface in certain ways.
Yeah.
But still, it's like one of those things where, oh, this just feels like another solid addition to what you're already doing. And kind of,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
glad. I'm glad to hear that.
And it's kind of, once like also this is going to be going with method and the overall what you're trying to
Yeah.
accomplish with everything. It's like, we're going.
And another tape
Yeah.
face.
It's, yeah.
The Tapeface.
I
Which
read
once
that
again,
script,
it's wild.
and it's great.
Awesome.
It's fucking wild.
Love it.
That's that one. The goal there is to get Travis to just give the greatest performance of all time. That's the goal there. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's about
Travis-
how turning 25 sucks. That's the whole point of
It's
it.
crazy because I'll tell this to people. It's like I do think like when I turned 25, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is like I actually turned. Like I felt that
Yeah.
in my click in my head more than any other
Yeah,
years
it's just
in my life.
yeah.
Whatever. Both of y'all can shut up. I'm closer to 30. Like,
Well, I'm not saying that it's not
Yeah.
going to change. It's just 25 is just like that number.
It finally
and I
like it finally clicked in my 2 weeks after I was 25. It clicked in my head. I'm like, damn, like I actually
I know.
feel.
I'm
No.
25 is the. I know what you mean though. Once you hit 25, you're kind of just like shit.
Yeah. I know from people older than me that looks really stupid, and they're like, that people are older. And I get people tell me that all the time, and I get that. I'm not saying anything about being.
Yeah.
It's just what I've accomplished. I mean, so you've read Tapeface 2, that the whole therapist scene at the beginning of the movie. I wrote that the night of my birthday. Like I came up to my room and I
man.
just wrote up that whole scene. And I was like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. I couldn't sleep that night. That's where I'm at. And I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. We're making another Tapeface, I guess. But even
No,
a part of that, what did you say?
Oh, I just said I love that. I was just
I'm
teasing
glad.
about like the fact
Yeah,
that I know for a fact like when you turn 25, like you guys said, it really is like kind of a switch, and
Yeah.
especially for people who want to be filmmakers, because everyone who's a filmmaker knows Citizen Kane was made by Orson Welles when he was 25, so everyone is automatically just like
Yeah.
that. I got to do something by 25 or else I'm
Well-
nothing, and then you get reminded where you're like, oh yeah, Ridley Scott made his first movie at 40.
Exactly. I was about to say, Steve McQueen made Hunger at 38. So there we go.
Yeah.
I look it up all the time when I'm like, oh, what's this guy doing? I was like, I thought Tarantino had done Reservoir Dogs when he was in his 20s, but no, he's like 31 when he did Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have
You
time.
get a little quarter life crisis at 25.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm doing what I'm heading towards that goal that I want to do. But back to the whole thing we were talking about, the minimal switching to it being minimal after Death After Dusk. In between Death After Dusk and Tapeface / Method, I wrote the biggest, most expensive script ever for a Death After Dusk prequel, and it's got a train robbery in it and all this crazy stuff. And if I get the money, that's gonna happen one day. We're gonna go back up to doing a big action movie. We'll see, a big action adventure movie. But then
This makes a Death After Dusk prequel and a sequel.
yeah.
He wrote 2.
See, like that's like this is just like a cool thing where it's like, I want to see this shit get made. But like just you as a person, like you have these stories just for even just yourself, So it's like
yeah. I mean that's what I keep saying. Like if I can't, like Addie's read them, Travis has read them, I've read them to my girlfriend and a couple other people, and I'm like, you can, you'll know this. Hopefully, I get to make it, but if not, then they're still there at least. But that's kind of because of I felt that I had to write these 2 scripts. I wrote those during the last summer. I wrote Short and Skinny Train Robbery and then The Short Haul to Hell. There's 2 is a prequel and a sequel. And then I was like, why did I just spend my whole summer writing those? Like I felt like I had to get those out. So then I wrote this movie Method, and it's about this director who is being forced by this studio or this producer slash, Satan representative, however you want to put it, and he's forced to make this movie where he has to kill people. And it's like that was what gave me that idea. It was like, why can't I stop? I can't ever stop trying to write something or trying to come up with something. I feel like I have to get it out. Oh well.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
That's honestly just kind of what you want out of your writer.
Yeah,
you know what I
it
mean?
is.
So, it's definitely a lot of work on your end, and it probably feels like, fuck, I just have to write this right now. But,
yeah,
it's that's a that just speaks to your work ethic and everything, and yeah.
Well, thank you. The person that I felt like crazy for a minute there. Whenever I felt like I was like, I've been doing this for like 2 years now, where I have to, once I get this idea, I can't put it down. And I was like, is it okay? Is it right to always be thinking about making movies? Like, no matter what, I'm always thinking about, what can I write in there? What can I put in there? And then I found this article from like 2006 or 7 of M. Night Shyamalan. And he was like, my family hates going on vacations with me because the whole time they're trying to do stuff, I just can't stop thinking about shooting a movie here. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Well,
the goat said
yeah. Like David
Shyamalan
Lynch also said, like, I remember this like coming up after his passing, where like, he's like, if you have an idea, you have to act on it. You have to write it down in some sort of way.
Can't let it go.
Because he's like, if I let it go, I feel like I'm gonna kill myself. Like, so
the notes app on my phone, if someone just looked at it without knowing me, would probably think I'm a schizophrenic.
I think that's how it is for most people.
I write down any random idea I have for a movie. It's like a one sentence pitch. And sometimes I'll even have like a whole little piece of dialogue that I want to be in the movie. I'll just sit there and put it in a note and just put like untitled idea or something like that. And you can just like 5 of them in my notes app. And then I also have like 5 scripts also that I've just tossed that will just never get made probably.
And guess what?
You gotta stop doing that.
I said the same thing, but that's also a thing too, where it's like, I have those and I like those, so at least I have them. So whatever. But you've kind of already said, like, you've explained like kind of what stuff is in the works. So I was gonna ask, like, what are you currently working on, what you have in the future. But so you have just if you wanna just go.
I'll go through it real quick. I got the scripts I got right now. I got Short and Skinny Train Robbery. That's the prequel. I got The Short Haul to Hell. That's the sequel. I got Tapeface. We're calling it Tapeface Kills right now.
Dude, you should absolutely do that. Like, I mean,
because part of what we're doing with it is I don't necessarily want you to have to watch the first Tapeface, because we kind of started out at a point where you don't need to have seen the first one. So I didn't want to call it Tapeface 2. So right now it's just Tapeface Kills. And then we got Method coming out, and then I got another movie about a hitman. I got another one about a spaceman. And then I've also been, for like the last, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months, I've been editing an animated movie about the transcendence of souls in the afterlife. That's just completely made up of stock elements and different footage and applying different filters and music onto those. And I don't know if that'll ever come out, but
I'm going to watch it no matter what, because I'm going to make him let me watch it. But this is why he's my GOAT. I love his creativity. I just love getting my hands on anything that Chandler makes. Even like, I just find out about stuff. Like, I thought there was a movie I found on Letterboxd that was a little animated film he made. And it's like, I think, 1 minute and 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
And I just found it on Letterboxd, and I was like, did you ghost drop without letting me know about something? And I show it to me, because it was something that he didn't even have publicly listed, and it was something that he took down, like, from what, 2018 or something?
Yeah, it was 2019, and somebody else from Twitter had watched the short film that I had made, and they added it to Letterboxd. And so whenever I made my new stuff, I never connected it. And I was tired of there was a Chandler Balli that made Sect and Death After Dusk and everything else, there was a Chandler Balli that made one left, and then there was a Chandler Balli that made this other animated movie. So I emailed Letterboxd. I was like, "Can you combine all three?" And that's when it appeared. And
Yeah,
so
and
This
I was like, you son of
motherfucker,
a bitch.
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It,
It's like, what does he keep
yeah.
from me?
Last question for you, sir. Do you feel like this at this point, viewers can see your own unique voice in the films that you've made?
I hope so. Um, uh, I'm not 100% sure because there's this great John Waters quote where he says that your movie's not good until someone calls it good that's not your family or that you're not fucking.
Yeah.
If somebody outside of that calls it good, then it's good. And Death After Dusk was the first time I really got that from people. Like, we got the Rotten Tomatoes score, and those are like actual critics and stuff, and they could find. I mean, they liked it. They found some stuff in there. I'm not sure specifically about my voice just yet. I think that people have liked my projects. I made this short film recently called Mom's House, and that one I had a lot of people really connect to. That's really been the pattern so far. Is I have people that will reach out to me and they'll talk to me about a project that I've done, and they just will lay it all out there, and I'm like, okay, you understand it. You really got what it was. I had a couple of people who did that with Sect. People that came to me and told me that they were in Jehovah's Witness and stuff, and that the way that I described religion and how it should be a personal thing rather than a public corporate thing, they really connected with that, and they really saw what I was trying to do there. Same thing with One Left. Like, I had people come to me with One Left and talk about they had family members that had passed away or things like that. And so, when I get those, I'm like, okay, then I think people are kind of getting it. I hope that people, it's like, I appreciate when friends and family and people tell me that they like something, but it is like, I hope you think about it when we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, then it lives on, and I hope that it really does have an effect on people. But so far, every project I've done, I've had that. I've had people reach out and say to me, even if it's one person. I think I only had one or two people really say that to me about Sect. And that's my least favorite project of my own. Like, overall, that's my least favorite project. But I had people reach out to me and say that to me about Sect. And so I was like, okay, that's great. That's just more fuel to the fire. That's what all of it is. Any review, good or bad, is just like keeping this train going. So I hope so. I hope people can see what I'm going for, and I hope I can become more pronounced and find more of my own kind of niche, my own stylistic choices and storytelling choices. But time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
He's very humble. He does have a voice.
Thank you, Addie. Addie tells me all the time.
Well, so it's
really
funny because
I
I feel
noticed
like
it.
I felt like I could tell there was a unique voice there when I saw One Left.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think of One Left, and I think of like that voice that connect with that film.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer the question I asked, I feel like yes, but I just wanted to get you.
That's
I wanted
great.
to see what you thought about it.
Thank you.
Um,
I really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, he's also his own editor, and it's like, and his own writer. He's very much an auteur, and I can tell, like, whenever I watch any cuts of his movies and his rough cuts and stuff like that, there is a certain like nuance to how he tells stories. I definitely think Chandler has a voice, like, no matter what. And it
Thank
does. The cool thing about Chandler, though, is that he can evolve and adapt his voice to any genre that he plays with. Like, you have Death After Dusk that has the spaghetti western elements to it, and then you have Method, which people haven't seen yet, but it has a lot of other tropes to it that he's playing with also. And then One Left, like, he plays with all these like sci-fi tropes. Like, whatever genre he's kind of playing in, he can sit there and adapt his voice to whatever he is working on, and it's pretty cool to watch.
I agree.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You both are very kind. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think both of you guys are cooking. both of you guys are cooking
Thank
shit
you.
that yeah, I'm very happy with. So, congrats
Thank you.
on, Addison, congrats on everything you've done so far. I'm very much proud
Yeah.
of what you've done as a creative.
I've done one movie
But
so far.
but you've done other
And
shit.
you
You
gotta.
have fucking
He's got a
Paranoid
new one coming
Critical,
out.
So it's like,
Yeah, Paranoid Critical is amazing. Paranoid Critical is scoring method. And then his new short film, Single Blind. I watched it twice today. It's incredible. I showed it to Travis. I showed it to Beza, and they all loved it.
Oh, what did Beza think? I didn't even get.
He
I didn't
loved
even.
it. We actually watched it right before I hopped on
hell
here.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she loved it. She thought it was great. Yeah, I definitely, Addie is incredible.
Yeah.
You got a lot of great stuff. I wish I could give him $1 million so he could just make movies, feature length
Yeah.
movies.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
I wish I'd give you $1 million, so then you can make your
there we
movie.
go.
That's what we
We
need.
both have a
Just-
goal.
But I can say the same things, exactly about you, Chandler. It's it's great to see everything that you're doing. Yeah, I think you're doing a
Thank
great
you.
job.
Thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your support. It makes me so happy that we had you at the Death of
I was
Fest
about to say,
premiere.
man, like, dude, like that was, that was a great experience, and I was happy to be there to share
Yeah.
that with not only you, but like just like an amalgamation of different people.
Yeah.
It was definitely a special experience. Yeah, I look back on it
I
fondly.
know, we got to get Jake out here again.
I know. When you coming out again?
I will be coming out this year. It's just a matter of finding out when. I told.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
he's probably said it, but it's like, it was just switching different jobs. I didn't have like the same leeway.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have the same leeway that I did with my previous job, so it made
Mhm.
things a little tougher. But
Premiere, we're flying Jake out.
Yeah.
we're it,
We'll just wait until whenever Jake comes down. That's when we'll do the premiere.
Yeah, we'll base it all
Leave it
around
on the
him.
back burner until Jake comes down. Yeah.
People will be asking, messaging, when's the premiere? It's like
whenever
whenever
Jake's
Jake comes.
I gotta wait for my buddy.
yeah,
Jake.
whenever Jake's coming. But this has been an incredible podcast. I've had a great time talking with Hunger and your own shit with you. So thank you for coming on. Any
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for
of
having
course.
me.
And is
This
there
has
anything
been a
else you
pleasure.
wanna plug at all?
Watch Single Blind when it comes out. Hopefully soon. I don't know.
I don't know when that's gonna come out. You've only
We'll
seen
see.
the.
I've seen the rough cut, but it's amazing. That's what's on my mind right now.
Try and polish it up,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
and
it.
then
That's
watch
all I got to plug.
when it comes out, and watch Tapeface Kills when it comes out.
There we
Yeah.
go.
And Method when it comes out too. That'll be soon.
And
That'll be
Method,
soon.
yeah.
Method.
But yeah, go watch Tapeface right now.
Yeah. Watch
yeah,
Tapeface
go,
right.
go watch Tapeface right now.
What is Tapeface on? You gotta tell him what it's on.
See, that's the problem. So
About
if you
that.
watch Tapeface, you saw the FBI warning. The FBI warning at the beginning. Well, I sent that to my distributor. My distributor didn't like that. Tubi and Amazon didn't like that, so they didn't accept it. So I have to re-upload it to be able to do that. Well, to re-upload it, they made it to where now you have to pay $600 to re-upload it. So
Jeez.
I'm about to just say fuck it and just release it on YouTube and just let everyone watch it on there.
That honestly, that might be the move. It'd probably blow up.
I might just do that. So we'll see. I don't
Whatever happens.
But you can watch right now. If you click on my bio in any social media platform, there's a link where you can rent it for 99 cents on Vimeo. So yeah, that's where it's at right now.
Well, guys, it's been a blast. It's been a pleasure. Chandler, we'll have you back at some point, of course.
I would love
Yeah.
to.
Addison, we'll figure out what movie we're doing next. I'm not gonna have Chandler sit through the decision process on that. So yeah, thank you guys as always for listening and for watching. We will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.